Now, this story today isn't just about the paralyzed man and his helplessness, but it's about our helplessness. Because everybody is helpless at some time or another, and hardly anyone likes being helpless. There are a few unfortunate people who like being helpless, but for most of us, we don't like it. I don't like it. You like it? You like it? I don't like it. But everyone is. At our birth, we're helpless. When you're born, you're helpless. I don't ever remember changing my own diapers. As a matter of fact, I don't even remember my dad and mom changing my diapers. I remember nothing about it. But seeing other children, I know that it happened. I just don't remember it. I don't remember being fed with a bottle. I don't remember anything that happened in those helpless days. I was so helpless, I'm helpless to remember. So we're helpless at birth. We're helpless at death. In the tsunami that just roiled Japan, there were people who were helpless. There are people who still probably are helpless. So at our birth, we're helpless. At our death, we're helpless. And many times in between, we're helpless. Now, I have to work Kinsley, my granddaughter, into a sermon whenever I can. And Kinsley is not quite as helpless at nearly 7 months as she was at birth, but she's still a little bit helpless. As a part of her learning to help herself, Kinsley has learned to roll. She doesn't crawl yet, but she rolls, and she can roll all over the place. But the part of the law of the gravity that says you cannot roll up a wall, Kinsley hasn't got that one down yet. And so she will roll into a corner, or she will roll up to a piece of furniture, and she will roll right into it as if she could keep going. But she can't. And I know she can't, and you know she can't. And then she becomes helpless unless she thinks to reverse direction and roll the opposite way. So we're helpless. And helpless people need help. And I want to share with you 6 kinds of help that you need when you're helpless. Okay? 6 kinds of help that you need when you're helpless. First of all, you need the help of a parent. I already mentioned it. Someone to change your diapers, someone to feed you, someone to take care of you and to teach you the basics of life. Now, none of us have perfect parents, and some of you have no parents or very inadequate parents. And so that is why we have a Heavenly Father and why Jesus said, Daddy in heaven. Because what my earthly parents are not able to do, my Heavenly Father is able to do. And it is also why we have mentors. Because what you lack from a parent, no parent being perfect, you might receive from an uncle or an aunt or a coach or a teacher. So we all need a parent. Secondly, we need a teacher. We need teachers. One day, my dad tried to teach me how to read. I emphasize the word one day because it was one day. And Dad failed. I didn't learn to read that day. He was frustrated, and so was I. When my son Luke came home from the first day of kindergarten, I said, honey, how did your first day of kindergarten go? He said, not very good, Dad. I didn't learn to read. So he too expected it to happen in a day, and it didn't. But Miss Francis, my first grade teacher, I didn't go to kindergarten. The school I went to didn't have kindergarten. But Miss Francis was a good teacher. And she knew that first she needed to teach us all ABC. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then we learned from Dick and Jane. And so we learned run and run, spot, run. And one word at a time, we learned to read. Miss Francis taught me to read. And in life, how many teachers do you have? You learn to read a book. You learn to fly a kite. You learn to drive a car. You learn to play football. You learn to kiss a girl. Maybe somebody taught you that. So many lessons. I learned to read Greek. I learned theology. I learned to study the Bible. And I didn't learn any of those things by myself. I had a teacher. Even if the teacher was someone who wrote a book, is no longer living, I've learned many things from teachers of previous centuries, including the Apostle Paul and Peter and Jesus himself. So you need teachers or we're helpless. In our helpless lives, there are many times that we need a friend. The paralyzed man that day, didn't he have good friends? One of the gospel writers says he had 4 of them. And they were determined. They weren't very polite, but they were determined. And they came to the place where Jesus was teaching to lay him in front of Jesus. They couldn't even get in the room. They were good friends. They were going to get their friend into the room. They, as I said, they were not polite, but they were good friends. And so they made a scene. They made a big scene. But they got their friend down on the floor in front of the one who could help him. Who could help him. There have been lots of times I needed a friend. Lots of times you needed a friend. We even become helpless when our doggone vehicles break down on the road. Does that happen to you? It's a helpless feeling. I had a fuse go out on my little car one day when I was trying to make it home for a meeting. I stopped for a bite to eat, and I'd left the lights on. Somebody helped me jump the car and blew out the main fuse. And it was a Saturday. And I thought I was never going to get home, or I was going to have to rent a car. And some tow truck driver found a parts store that was still open and drove me there and helped me get the right part, and then came back and helped me put it in the car. Don't think he even charged me very much. And so he was a friend that I knew for about an hour. You have friends that are your lifetime friend, and you have friends that are friends in need, and sometimes you're a friend like that to somebody who has just become helpless.